Subscribe if you hate Karens and comment. Where you're watching this video from, it was just another long and relentless Tuesday in the real estate game. Deals closed, offers rejected, the usual roller coaster. I was mentally drained, the kind of tired that seeps into your bones, making even the simple act of unlocking the front door seem like a Herculean task. All I craved was a cold beer, some mindless TV, and the sweet oblivion of sleep. Little did I know, my evening was about to take a turn for the absolutely insane. Reaching for my wallet to grab my house key, a cold dread washed over me. It wasn't there. I patted my pockets, checked the glove compartment of my car, even rummaged. Through the briefcase I always lugged around. Nothing. My credit card, my primary one, was gone. Panic started to bubble in my chest. Had I dropped it somewhere during a showing? Left it at that coffee shop I frequented in Buckhead? The possibilities swirled in my mind, each one more unsettling than the last. I spent the entire day at my office and different locations showing houses and land, so it was impossible for me to really know where it had disappeared. I raced inside, throwing my briefcase onto the sofa. "Okay, Diego, don't freak out," I muttered to myself, pacing the length of my living room. Maybe I had just misplaced it at home. I started tearing the place apart, flipping cushions, checking under rugs, even peering into the fridge. You never know. An hour later, my apartment looked like a tornado had ripped through it, and my credit card was still nowhere to be found. The initial panic was now morphing into a cold, simmering anger. This wasn't just a simple misplacement. This was something else. I immediately tried to log on to my credit card accounts to see where it was last used. I was immediately locked out of my accounts, and it suggested that I had put in the wrong information many times, so it locked me out. My spidey senses were starting to tingle, telling me something bad was about to happen. I sat down at my computer, heart pounding, and called the credit card company. After navigating the automated system from hell, I finally got a representative. On the line? "I need to report my card missing," I said, my voice tight with anxiety. I couldn't believe this was happening. As the rep began to run the card number I told him, he stated that the card was active and had recently been used. He could only provide very vague information. I was confused and asked to speak to his manager. Still, no definite information. I hung up in frustration. The next morning, I woke up in a sweat, with my head pounding. The first thing I did was check my credit card. After a while on the phone, the representative read out the last few transactions, and my jaw dropped. Thousands of dollars in payments to various debt collection agencies, all within the last 24 hours. This wasn't some random shopping spree. Someone was deliberately using my card to pay off debt? Whose debt? The confusion was quickly replaced by a burning fury. I demanded more information, pressing the representative for details. He was hesitant, citing privacy concerns, but finally, after much persuasion and a thinly veiled threat to close my account, he relented. He read out the names associated with the accounts that had received the payments, and that's when the pieces clicked into place, forming a horrifying picture. Each and every debt belonged to one person, Kevin Miller. Kevin Miller was Karen's son. He was the bane of our neighborhood. A perpetually unemployed, overgrown man-child who spent his days lounging around, blasting music, and generally being a nuisance. Karen, his mother, was my next-door neighbor, a middle-aged woman with a permanent scowl and an unwavering belief in her own superiority. We had a history of minor squabbles, complaints about my lawn, accusations of parking too close to her precious SUV, the usual suburban nonsense. But this was a whole different level of crazy. I hung up the phone, my hands shaking. "Karen," She somehow got her hands on my credit card and used it to bail out her deadbeat son. The audacity, the sheer gall of it, was mind-boggling. I started going through my mind on how she got it. The most logical thing that came to mind was that she had stolen it the night before, as I was bringing in groceries. I had set my wallet down to pick up a heavy bag, and she was outside watering her plants. I was going to have a stern talking to with Karen, and she was going to give me every single penny back. She was going to be so sorry. Rage propelled me out of my apartment and across the small patch of lawn that separated our homes. I didn't bother knocking. I threw open her front door, startling her as she sat at her kitchen table sipping coffee. Karen's eyes widened in surprise as I stormed into her kitchen. Her carefully crafted facade of suburban respectability faltered for a moment, revealing a flicker of guilt in her eyes. But it was fleeting. "Diego, what do you think you're doing, barging into my home like this?" she exclaimed, her voice dripping with indignation. I could see the coffee cup shaking in her hand. "Where is it, Karen?" I demanded, my voice tight with fury. "Where's my credit card?" She blinked, feigning innocence. "Your credit card? I have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't play dumb with me," I snapped, taking a step closer. "I know you took it. I know you used it to pay off your son's debts. Thousands of dollars, Karen. Thousands!" Her face flushed a blotchy red. "I don't know anything about that," she stammered, avoiding my gaze. But her trembling hands and the beads of sweat forming on her forehead betrayed her. She knew. She knew exactly what she had done. "Oh, really?" I challenged, pulling out my phone. "Because I just got off the phone with the credit card company. They confirmed the transactions. They know exactly where the money went. And guess what, Karen? They have your son's name and address." That seemed to break her. Her eyes narrowed and her voice hardened. "So what if I did? You're not going to do anything about it," she sneered. "It was my money to begin with. I work hard every day. I can do whatever I want with my money." "Your money?" I repeated, incredulous. "It was my credit card, Karen. My money. You stole. From me. You committed fraud." The situation escalated quickly. Karen, cornered and desperate, lashed out. She started yelling, accusing me of harassing her, invading her privacy, and all sorts of other nonsensical things. She was trying to deflect, to muddy the waters, to make herself the victim. But I wasn't going to let her. I stood my ground, refusing to back down. "Give me my money back, Karen," I said, my voice low and dangerous, "or I swear you'll regret this." The moment I said those words, Karen's eyes lit up with a perverse kind of glee. She snatched her phone from the counter and, with a dramatic flourish, dialed 911. "I need the police!" she shrieked into the phone, her voice shrill and hysterical. "There's a black man in my house, harassing me. He's threatening me. He stole my credit card and is saying it's his. He's trying to rob me." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was twisting the situation, painting me as the aggressor, the criminal. The blatant racism in her words stung, even though I wasn't surprised. This was classic Karen behavior, weaponizing her privilege and playing the victim card to the hilt. I tried to interrupt, to explain my side of the story, but she just kept talking over me, her voice rising in pitch with each passing second. "He says the card is his, but it's mine. I've had it for years. This man is crazy. He needs to be arrested." She looked directly at me as she said that. "Please send someone quickly. I'm afraid for my safety." With that, she hung up the phone, a smug look on her face. "You're really going to do this?" I asked, shaking my head in disbelief. "You're going to lie to the police? You know this is going to backfire on you, right?" "We'll see about that," she retorted, crossing her arms and glaring at me. "They'll believe me. I'm a respectable woman. You're just some thug trying to take advantage of me." I have never been so offended in my entire life. I knew then that I couldn't reason with her. She was too far gone, too invested in her own twisted narrative. All I could do was wait for the police to arrive and hope that they would see through her lies. I pulled out my own phone and started recording, just in case. I knew this was going to be a long and ugly ordeal, but I was determined to see it through. I couldn't let her get away with this, with stealing my money or disrespecting my race. The next few minutes felt like an eternity. Karen continued to rant and rave, spewing insults and accusations. I tried my best to ignore her, focusing on the task at hand, documenting everything that was happening. I had a feeling that this recording would be crucial in the days to come. The sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. Karen visibly perked up, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Here they come," she said, a triumphant smirk on her face. "You're going to regret ever stepping foot in my house." Two police officers arrived, a man and a woman, both looking serious and professional. They approached the front door cautiously, their hands resting on their holsters. "We received a call about a disturbance," the male officer said, his eyes scanning the scene. "What's going on here?" Karen immediately launched into her story, repeating the same lies she had told the 911 operator. "This man broke into my house," she said, pointing at me with a trembling finger. "He's claiming that my credit card is his. He's threatening me and trying to steal from me." I stepped forward, holding up my hands to show that I wasn't a threat. "That's not true, officer," I said calmly. "She stole my credit card and used it to pay off her son's debts. I have proof." The officers exchanged a look. The female officer turned to Karen. "Ma'am, can you show me the credit card in question?" Karen hesitated, her face paling. She fumbled in her purse, pulling out a wallet. She then pulled out the credit card. The officer immediately asked for her ID. After checking the ID and the credit card, it was very evident that the card was in fact mine. The officers looked at Karen with raised eyebrows. "Ma'am, this card is registered to a Diego Stevenson. Can you explain this?" Karen sputtered, trying to come up with an excuse. It's a mistake," she stammered. "I don't know how that happened. It must be a clerical error." It was evident. She was lying. The male officer then asked me to provide my driver's license. After comparing the names, the jig was up. The female officer, her expression hardening, said, "Ma'am, we need you to step outside and place your hands behind your back." Karen's eyes widened in disbelief. "What? You're arresting me? But I'm the victim here." "You're being arrested for theft, fraud, and filing a false police report," the officer replied sternly. "You have the right to remain silent." Karen completely lost it. She started screaming and thrashing, resisting the officer's attempts to handcuff her. "This is outrageous," she shrieked. "I'm being framed. He's lying. You're all being manipulated." She lunged at me, her eyes filled with rage. "This is all your fault." Before I could react, she scratched me on the face. The male officer immediately intervened, pulling her away from me. When she resisted and attempted to kick him, he deployed his taser. Karen let out a piercing scream as the electricity coursed through her body, sending her crashing to the floor. The officers quickly secured her in handcuffs and escorted her out of the house, still screaming and protesting her innocence. As they led her away, she turned to me, her face contorted with hatred. "You haven't heard the last of this, Diego Stevenson," she screamed. I'll get you for this." I watched them go, my heart pounding. The adrenaline was slowly wearing off, leaving me feeling drained and shaken. It was finally over. Karen was going to face the consequences of her actions. I rubbed my face, still stinging from the scratch. This whole ordeal had been a nightmare, a bizarre and horrifying glimpse into the dark side of human nature. Later that evening, after giving my statement to the police and recovering my credit card, I sat alone in my apartment, trying to process everything that had happened. The events of the past few days had shaken me to my core, but I also felt a sense of relief, a sense of justice served. Karen's actions had been reprehensible, and she had paid the price. As I drifted off to sleep, I knew that I would never forget this experience. It had taught me a valuable lesson about the importance of standing up for myself, about the dangers of prejudice and entitlement, and about the surprising resilience of the human spirit. And while I wouldn't wish this on anyone, I was grateful that the truth had prevailed. I called the authorities and pressed charges on all accounts. I had gotten in contact with her son's creditors and made sure that when they seized Karen home, she would have nowhere to go.